Okay, people, today we're going to talk about why there are no races and why I'm so sick of hearing reference to black people, white people, brown people, Indians, Asians, as if these are races. Let's start with the how we're here. So, depending on what you believe, if you're a religious fanatic and you believe the Bible or the Quran or whatever your document is that you go by, then you may believe otherwise. But the way the world actually formed, it was the Big Bang. To the best of our knowledge, what happened was 13.8 billion years ago. This is widely accepted in science. How the Earth, how everything got here, the universe was from nothing. It came from a big explosion. That something had to, what we have now had to come from somewhere, and it all came from a singularity. So anyway, we're into this concept of races. In other words, there's some humans that are this race, and some humans that are this race and this race. When did that come about? I don't even know. I know that if we look at history, we talk about enslavement. We talk about, I guess the most easy to point to is when we're in the United States, we're talking about, well, not me, but this country or whatever it was, the colonies, before the colonies, people were bringing that were primarily white in terms of skin complexion, that were English or from whatever country, but a lot of it was England. The settlers, they brought over people, or they had a slave trade, and these slaves were the color black, their skin color, and they're usually from Africa, I guess. I mean, I wasn't there, so I'm just going by what's written from history. So anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is people were labeling people as different, but the reality is we all came, singularity, the Big Bang, we all came from the same thing. There was never a point in the evolution of the universe that there was a branch of this type of people and that type of people. Obviously, with the formation of the Earth, which was about 4 billion years ago, and then ultimately the Pangea and the separation and the formation of the continents, and then the evolution of life, which I'm not exactly sure when life began, somewhere a couple billion years ago, from single cell to what we have now present day. Is we have humans are obviously the ones that can have the highest in the food chain, but we have all these animals. Anyway, at what point was there a race, a white race, a black race, a Asian, whatever? There never was. So anytime somebody's using this term, whether it's a president or whether it's some politician or just some person in general life, and I always hate to hear this, whether it's a friend, family member, whatever, this people, white people, black people, what the hell are you talking about? There's nothing to be gained by labeling somebody a color, and there's no basis to it. Okay, if you're concerned about somebody's skin complexion, okay, fine, say it. Yeah, this person's skin complexion is darker, but that is not a race. There was no divergence, regardless of the fact that some people were Eskimos and they were from, let's say Alaska, or you have obviously in Russia, you have different parts of Russia where there's Siberia, and then there's the more of the Moscow, and then you have the Middle East when the civilization began, which we're going back to like Babylon and so on. Again, there was no race. There's no, okay, this is a race. Humans evolved, and humans have different levels of skin complexion in terms of the darkness or lightness, but that is irrelevant to anything, and there isn't a specific for that. Like there isn't like this lineage of people, because people, first of all, intermingle anyway. So who's to track who's related to who, or how far back? If you're alive today, you have, as far as a human, you have millions of years of ancestors. So nobody can track back more than maybe 1,000 years in their own lineage, and at that point, it's human history is you can't, just going back that far, the records are spotty. You just didn't keep good records because of technology not existing. So anyway, the point is, anybody who's spouting the word race as if it's relevant to anything is just plain stupid. I mean, there isn't legally, there isn't a definition of race. I mean, you see it on forums. They'll ask you, when you fill out, I don't trying to think of what, whether you fill out a test or whether you fill out some random government form. It even asks you, what's your Pacific Island, whatever. It's like, what the hell is this for? Okay, maybe people like to be categorized as, well, I identify with whatever, Pacific Islanders or Asians or Middle Eastern or whatever. But there's no benefit to it. It doesn't do anything good at all. It just like the most common in our country is the white and black, because most people are either white or black, but there's obviously a huge Asian population, there's a huge Indian population. But when somebody says I'm racist, somebody's racist, India, we pick on India people, or white people, or vice versa, or black people choose to denigrate white people. There isn't such a thing. It's stupidity to pretend and play that game that there's something that unique about a color of the skin. So stop it completely. Do not refer to somebody by a color. If you have to, for some reason, need to identify somebody, for whatever reason, like you're picking somebody out of a crowd, say which person was it or whatever. Well, in that case, it may be slightly relevant because somebody's clearly easily identified because of their skin, whether they're white or black or whatever. But I mean, obviously white and black are the extremes in color, so those are the most commonly used terms. But the point of it all is, anybody that uses the term race in any context is just being ignorant. Do not do it. And that's all I have to say today. I just, it irritates me. I heard some, things about, I just was listening to something, and it was ICE. So apparently ICE was, at least according to some congressman or some political official, whether it's a mayor or whatever. I didn't get all details down, but somebody said, well, they were afraid. So they're carrying around their papers, and supposedly ICE is going to some housed in a certain area where they're trying to find and remove people that are not, they're not legal to be here, and they're removing them. And that's another topic for another day, as to whether or not there's such a thing as the authority of the quote-unquote federal government to enforce quote-unquote immigration, which isn't even in the Constitution. But just to go back to this, what I was talking about a second ago, this official said they're afraid, and people, the ICE officials are going to houses and saying, where are the Asian people? Which this may or may not be, this person may just be lying, I don't know. But let's just say that's the case. And the person, this was a radio or it was a YouTube video that I was listening to, but it was somebody that was, some kind of reporter saying that was racist. Okay, well, it's stupid, but I mean, Asia is a country. I'm sorry. Now I'm being dumb. Asia is a continent, generally, obviously over in Asia. And if you're an Asian-looking person with identifiable characteristics that you commonly associate with, whether that's I don't know, the facial recognition that people recognize, these Korean, Japanese, Chinese, whatever, that's still not a race. That is a characterization of physical features relating to a specific region of the Earth. Okay, so Asian people are in this particular area, they look like that. Where are the Asian people? Okay, that's not a race. That's referring to people by a geographical region. They have characteristics of that geographical regions. There is no race. It's not like you're born and okay. So what happens if, like, an Asian person and an American, have a child? What race is that? First of all, it was never a race to begin with. Okay, when the Big Bang happened and evolution occurred in the world, in the Earth, there was never a point where, okay, over here is where everything, this line, then it designates this color, black, white, or what, however races. I mean, I don't even know what the concept of race is supposed to be. I know that people would commonly say, if you don't like white people or black people, then you're racist against that race. But what the hell is a race? there's nothing to back it. It's just a stupid, ignorant term. And we could go back to Germany when Germany was quote unquote, World War II time frame, the 30s, when the hostility against from the German people or the Anglo or whatever the heck they were believing they were. It's easy to say they were racist, but reality is against Jewish people. Now, Jewish, it's a religion, okay, not a race. They have a religion, and obviously there's differences in culture between different people that follow Christianity, the Muslim religion. I'm anti-religious to begin with, but let's just, if you are hostile against these people. So a larger, more powerful group in Germany was the so-called German nationalists, I guess is how you would say it. And they were, they were feeling that the Jewish people apparently were a threat to them, or they weren't wanted, and it's just antagonism. So now there was, at some point, obviously there was the horrors of the what people refer to as the Holocaust, or just enslavement, or the camps. The what word am I looking for here? In any case, it's a internment camp where they were segregated and obviously put into terrible conditions. So, but was that racist? What is there a race? No, people choose to be of a identity, the Jewish or Christian or Catholic or whatever. All right. Well, that can create friction between these people look things this way, these people look at things that way. They have these business policies, practices, whatever differences you have. It's not a race. There was never a race created by evolution or by choice. Races, it's a stupid term. It doesn't exist. It doesn't identify anything. If you want to talk about the Anglo or the German nationalist people being horrifically, bad to these other group of people, and you can identify, okay, well, they were Jewish people, or in some cases there were some handicapped people. I wasn't there. I don't know anything about it. I don't have an opinion really. It just, world history happened, and you have to look and see what you can identify it from. But in any case, there was never a race. A religion is not a race. A country is not a race. A geographical region is not a race. Your physical characteristics of color or complexion are not a race. They're just things you can look at to identify somebody, but you can't say that there's a race. All right. I want people to stop using terms race. Whatever you're referring to, whatever your policy is, or whatever you're trying to make your point, clarify that you're, okay, primarily people of this complexion, or primarily people from this country. This is what's going on. So-and-so is targeting people of this type of, identity. And that's obviously when you make your point, but you don't use the word race because it doesn't exist. Races isn't a thing. Okay. Thank you.